forward to say, hey guys, it's Klaus. You know, Klaus does not appreciate hypocrites. And yeah, the other day, you know, Klaus went on another date. Pretty nice looking girl. Well, at least Klaus thought she was a nice girl. Klaus asked her out on a date, asked her for dinner, and she said, well, dinner might be too big a step. What did she say? Well, that might be too big a step for us. So she preferred breakfast. Klaus said, well, what about lunch? And apparently, well, lunch was also too big a step for us. So, well, breakfast. We decided that we would go for breakfast because I guess apparently when you consume food, what time of the day you do the consuming of food dictates how big a step it is between you. So we decided to go for breakfast, which was apparently a smaller step. Anyways, we went to breakfast, and to get on with the story, we were sitting there at the breakfast table. A waitress came by and asked for our orders, and Klaus ordered some coffee and a Denver omelet. And well, then it was her turn to order, and she said, I'll have a egg white omelet with shallots and onions and cheese. But I insist that the eggs are free-range chicken eggs. And, well, you know, Klaus did not take her to the fanciest place in town. Well, we went to Denny's, and the waitress at Denny's was a little bit confused, and she went back and checked with the manager, and apparently, well, Denny's does not have free-range eggs, egg whites, and they didn't have shallots either. But anyways, the date was particularly concerned about the eggs, or the chickens, being able to range freely. Well, I guess what would happen is they would be able to range freely before and after they lay the eggs in their little coop. This was very important to her, and this restaurant did not have. You understand what Klaus is saying? They did not have free-range eggs. So, anyways, she was put off by this and decided. She got very flustered, and she said, "Well, you know, we just can't do this now. We'll have to reschedule for another breakfast date where you can take me somewhere where they serve animal-sensitive portions and food." And well, Klaus knew where this was going right away, so Klaus just agreed and said, "Yeah, we better get out of here, baby, and I'll take you back home." And we left and went to the car, and it was a pretty cold day, so, you know, she was dressed up very nicely, obviously, for the date. Wanted to impress Klaus. Klaus thinks that she has the hots anyway for me, but she was wearing a beautiful leather coat, you know, to keep herself warm. And Klaus commented on the coat. "That's a very beautiful leather coat you have on there. You must feel really good wearing such a nice coat, knowing that those cows that were slaughtered to make that coat were freely ranged before they were killed to make that coat. Where did you find that free-range leather coat? You must be a very strong person to search that out and be so sensitive." And well, she didn't say anything. We got in the car, started driving home, and it wasn't until about 45 seconds of silence. Now that's a lot of silence. She finally looked over and said, "Well, you realize there will not be a second breakfast date?" And well, Klaus knew it was probably a lost cause, so just wanted to ask her a few more questions. And said, "Well, was it the fact that that they didn't have the shallots, or they didn't have the eggs from the chickens that could freely range, or was it something Klaus said, or did you not like the waitress?" And "You know what you said. You don't have to make fun of my beliefs and my belief system. I'm a very sensitive person." And well, you know, Klaus felt a little bit bad for this person and said, "Well, Klaus is not trying to make fun of you or anything, baby. Yeah, I made a little comment about your leather coat there. You seem a little bit hypocritical to Klaus here. You're worried about the free-range chickens, but you're wearing the leather coat from the cow that was slaughtered to make the coat. Probably was not freely ranging, was probably just any old cow, and I'm sure it's a really nice coat, but not so sure what kind of leather they used. And notice you're wearing some beautiful makeup on your eyes, which was probably tested on chimpanzees when they developed the makeup formula. Some scientists probably sprayed that stuff into the chimpanzee's eyes once or twice to see if it got infected or whether it was safe for humans. And you don't seem too worried whether the chimpanzees that your makeup was tested on freely ranged outside the lab when in between tests. And well, she was, Klaus thought she was going to be very angry, but it was the opposite reaction. She looked over and said, "You know what? I stand corrected. I see where you're going with this, Mr. Kellerman, and I think that I will allow you to take me on a dinner date instead of breakfast, maybe tonight." And Klaus, Klaus was tempted to say, "Ho, ho, ho, hey, we're in, buddy." But no, Klaus has some rules and ways of honorable ways of handling himself. And Klaus just put his foot down and said, "Baby, Klaus does not appreciate hypocrites so much, and you don't seem like a particularly bad person. It's not like you know that you're a hypocrite, but if you can make such a big show out of being so worried about a few chickens that are going to lay some eggs that you're going to eat for breakfast, and at the same time wear the leather coat and the makeup and the Gucci shoes and run around being driven around in the car that was, all this stuff, you're probably not that worried about the chickens, are you? Like, you really don't care you've never even been to a chicken coop. You've never been on a farm before, have you, honey?" And she admitted that she had never been on a farm, and actually she said to Klaus, "I've never really met anyone that's said it the way you have, and I'd really like to hear more of your perspective, maybe over dinner." And, well, that's when Klaus, Klaus is sure he did the right thing, looked her in the eye and paused for 4 or 5 seconds and says, "Baby, I think I'll just drop you off here 4 blocks from where you live, because Klaus prefers his ladies to range freely before being cooped up in their own apartments. Klaus thinks that going out to dinner with you might be a little bit too big a step at this point in time for us." Well, she got out of the car and slowly walked away into the sunset. Actually, she walked down the street towards her apartment. And Klaus watched that tightly fitting, slender leather coat with those embroidery pattern that accentuated the narrow waist. And Klaus isn't sure he did the right thing. But hold on. After thinking about it, Klaus is sure that was the right thing to do. And you gotta stand up for your convictions. And if she can be so picky about where her eggs come from, then Klaus can be just as picky and not was. There's a whole point to this story. Klaus is trying to make a point, but is not really sure how to wrap it up here. But you get the point, right? If you're gonna be a hypocrite, I don't know. Klaus just doesn't like hypocrites. It just went downhill right away. And does this have anything to do with the game we're watching? There's like a minute left in the game, and there's a KV2 playing. Been shooting some people, and this game has nothing to do with anything that Klaus was talking about. Nothing to do with it. Klaus isn't even sure who's playing. It's a guy in a KV2 who has 6 kills, and there's 30 seconds left, and that's a good thing because Klaus has run out of things to say. And here we go. He's going to kill a useless, pathetic scumbag to end this off. And yeah, that's all Klaus has to say about it. So thanks everybody for listening to my story, and leave a comment. Let Klaus know if I did the right thing there, or what you guys think. It's always hard to... This particular time, Klaus is not 100% sure he's wrapped the story up in the moral, and, you know, everything is all wrapped up here, but what the hell? Video's over. So, if it doesn't make any sense, too bad. Oh, and whoever sent this replay in, thanks. Forgot who sent it in, and I lost the end plaint. And it's really hard to read your name. Yeah.